Good day, everyone. Today we're going to brush up on important keys to literary analysis. What is literary analysis? Literary analysis focuses on an in-depth evaluation and informed interpretation of literature. Ultimately, it is the critical process of dissecting a piece of literature by examining its stylistic and structural elements, as well as considering how and why these elements have been constructed by the author in a specific way. To successfully analyze a piece of literature, you will need to be able to accurately comprehend the literary elements, figurative language, and writing techniques that shape a written story, in addition to remembering that authors make specific choices for particular reasons or effects. Your goal for your own literary analysis is to thoughtfully identify the author's choices and then attempt to explain their significance or purpose, as well as their ultimate effect on the literature as a whole and the reader. You should be familiar with the point or proof or analysis structure for formal writing. Remember that your analysis is also meant to explain why your point or argument and your proof or evidence supports your thesis statement or central position. Now let's talk about what literary analysis is not. Literary analysis is not a mere summary of the details in a piece of writing. Do not simply retell the story. This is not analysis, this is mimicry. Literary analysis is not only identifying a literary element or the specific use of a device without also explaining its greater purpose, effect, and deeper meaning. Literary analysis is not connecting the literature to your personal life and discussing its ultimate meaning to you without using a critical lens or theory to guide your examination. Stay focused on the literature unless instructed otherwise. Literary analysis is not assumptions about what could have happened in the literature had something different happened, is not analysis. Do not surmise, analyze. Now that we have understood what literary analysis is, let's talk about building meaning by Dean. There are six strategies for literary inquiry according to him. First is deepening comprehension. Second, inferring the author's purpose. Third, considering multiple perspectives. Fourth, connecting text to context. Fifth, generalizing and applying themes. Sixth, continuing the conversation across multiple texts. There are eight tools for literary analysis: plot, setting, character, theme, narrative perspective, figurative language, style, and structure. Now let's talk about each of these tools. How to analyze plot. Consider traditional plot graph, foreshadowing, plot structure, flashbacks, and conflict. How to analyze setting. Consider time, place, atmosphere, pathetic fallacy, and social climate. How to analyze character. Consider what a character looks like, says, thinks, does, and what other characters say about him or her. Also, character motivation can be explored, as well as character relationships. Now let's talk about how to analyze theme. Identify the main ideas or central messages of a piece of writing using specific evidence from the text to support your interpretation. A theme should be developed from the beginning of a text to the end. It is not an isolated event in the story. It is a repeated message or idea. Express your chosen theme in more than one word. For example, instead of saying that the theme of a story is friendship, say that the theme examines the unbreakable bonds of friendship. Or instead of saying that the theme of a text is love, ask what it is about love that is being explored. This will shape a stronger theme and narrow your focus. Next, how do we analyze narrative perspective? We have to consider the narration style, the role of the narrator, his or her bias, and the advantages or disadvantages to having the story told from the chosen perspective. This part is a little lengthy. How to analyze figurative language. We have to consider how a variety of figures of speech or non-literal language and comparisons are used to enhance the writing style of the literature. Examine the type of device being used, and then analyze the purpose and effect of that device on the story or poem or novel or play. Consider how these devices help you as the reader visualize characters, events, and important details in the literature. Let's take a look at some examples of figurative language. Metaphor, onomatopoeia, personification, hyperbole, situational irony, allusion, and so forth. Now let's talk about how to analyze style. We have to consider analyzing the diction, the language being used if it's formal or informal, the purpose of the writing, which is the voice of the writing, and we must also consider the tone of the piece. And finally, how to analyze structure. We have to consider the syntax, paragraphing, chapter length and formatting, and page formatting. Some examples of structure include description, compare and contrast, order and sequence, problem and solution, and cause and effect. Now that we have covered the 8 tools for literary analysis, let us find out how do we push our analysis further. Be insightful. Do not simply state the obvious or repeat or reiterate information from the text. We have to infer, question, and connect. We have to keep questioning. The better the questions that we ask, the better our analysis will be. We might also want to explore similarities and differences between elements of the text. That's all for our literary analysis. Thank you.